Hey, welcome to the Mostly Skateboarding podcast. I'm your host, Templeton Elliott, and I'm joined this week by Mike Munzenrider and Patrick Kagongo to talk about archiving skate history, but first, returning to sponsors. This week, we learned that after Thank You Skateboards crumbled, Tori Pudwell has returned home to Plan B as a bit of a Plan B. It seems Tori hasn't lost a beat, going the distance on backtails in his welcome back part. Throughout skateboarding's history, we've seen this before, guys going back to a brand they left. Mike, what does a homecoming like this signal?
I think in the case of Tori Pudwell, to be specific, this one's just like a mulligan. In that he never probably should have left, because I could have told you, looking over the business plan for Thank You Skateboards, I'm like, yeah, this isn't gonna work. You guys are tight, but this isn't gonna work.
Wait. You've seen the business plan, or is this
Theoretical?
Oh.
Theoretical.
I
Yeah.
thought you had secret documents or something.
No, it's like day one and Tori Pudwell, breaking out in whenever they did. Time is a flat circle, and it definitely doesn't, let me remember when Tori would have quit Plan B to
2018, I think, right before the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds about right. I don't know. Did it last that long? I don't want to beg on Thank You for a long time. It just didn't seem like it was it was the classic, we're pro skateboarders. We've been doing this for a long time. We can do our own brand, and it's harder than everyone thinks. In terms of like Tori Pudwell going back to Plan B, that's dope. Name of the video said it all. Like, never should have left. And dude still rips. So that's cool.
Indeed. Patrick, what do you think in a broader sense when somebody goes back to a former sponsor? What do you think about that?
What are we all looking for other than stability? And I think, going to your earlier point about Thank You, to Mike's point about Thank You, it was a project that had run its course. And it ended for the same reason that any other skateboard brand ends. At some point, you realize that, yes, it is hard to start a skateboard brand. I mean, it seems easy, but it's actually quite hard. Materials costs have gone up. You're obviously dealing with the tariffs from last year, the removal of, removal of de minimis protections. Scaling and maintaining a skateboard business has always been challenging, but the business environment in which we are operating right now in 2026, oh man, it is rough for small and medium-sized businesses, particularly in something as niche as skateboarding, where the money's always been made in the margins. The margins ain't that big anymore. I think also, with regards to returning to Plan B, even if Plan B was this 3.0 right now, because there's the Mike Kernaski version, there's Danny and Colin running it briefly in the 90s, right? So that's 2. So yeah, and this is the resurrected version, so 3. Maybe 3.1, whatever you want to call it, because now they've got some new folks. This iteration of Plan B has its fans. And I think Tori Pudwell is an interesting case study, because I was kind of thinking about, what type of skater is he? And is he the last of the Groms? Because think about it. There's a kid from the Valley, more specifically way out there in the San Fernando Valley, Simi Valley, which may or may not still be in LA County. Grew up going to the Skate Lab skate park, which is where the actual Skateboard Hall of Fame is. Came up through the industry, got picked up, had sponsor me videos, got in through contests. It's really hard to make it into the pro circuits like that now. And you watch the part, you remember, oh, dang. He was always really, really, really good, just always up to some other things. And maybe was kind of hampered by them long-ass back tail slides. This felt appropriate. As per your bigger question of returning to a sponsor, sometimes that's just what you do. People get traded. We all watch ball sports here. People get traded. They get taken out on loan. And eventually they find their way back, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. I think this is one of those instances in which this is appropriate, this feels good, and he's in a place where I think his type of skating matches the energy of that particular team. What do y'all think?
I think the two of you guys are a little more generous than I am. I think going back to a former sponsor is a little bit sad. I think in this case, Tori back on Plan B, I think it makes a lot of sense. And I think Arto going back to Flip after his short stint on Alien also made a lot of sense. Like, him going on Alien just did not make any sense. But I feel like going back to a sponsor kind of lets everyone know that you couldn't quite make it out there on your own, maybe didn't have the juice you thought you did. And it's like, okay, let me let me go back to where things are comfortable.
Honestly, I thought that the thank you move was like ramping down. It seems, Day One's never going to stop because he's a psycho. And I guess I hadn't like realized that Tori Pudwell is only 36, So he left Plan B at a time when he really wasn't that old. He's really not that old either. Yeah, I mean, it was like a bet on himself move, but in my head, it was like, all right, yeah, cool, yeah, I can go do this thing with the homie Day One and have fun, and it's gonna be whatever. And that brand never really fully materialized. I stand by my idea of a mulligan in golf. You get a mulligan. It's like the shot never happened. And so, yeah, Tori Pudwell came out with this video part that's pretty damn good. He's like the longest grinder with the least amount of twiddling as he grinds and slides, and he's gonna flip out and he's gonna do something, but he's not like shuffling his feet. Yeah, I think it's a true like, oh, that other shit never happened. Here we are, Plan B.
I don't know, like
bigger bang.
I guess the thing is with thank you. I mean, it made sense for example, Day One, because we've all seen what happened with Dwindle. So he needed someplace to be. Although it seems like he's hanging out, spending an awful lot of time with the Krill Tap homies. Like, can they just put him on and stop playing with us?
Yeah, if we got I don't know, if I don't want to call him Tory, and calling him Pudwill doesn't vibe. So TP being on Plan B again, that's an insane sentence. I think Day One on chocolate is imminent.
Let's hope so.
But go on, Patrick.
Yeah, so back to y'all's point about sometimes starting a company seems like a good idea. And I think a lot of our sense of caution about starting a board brand is that there's a bit of hubris in there. It's like running for president. Like, wait, you really think the kids at the shop and the old heads like us are really going to be breaking tradition with whatever it is that we're doing to reach for whatever you're putting out? You might not be that guy.
Yeah,
I mean, not be that person.
If you're starting a brand, you got to think that you're that person. But I think that, in Mike's piece from last week at Quarter Snacks, the guy at Deluxe kind of broke it down. He's like, the first drop is easy, but what's the fourth drop look like? What's the brand look like 2 years from now? That's when it gets really hard, when you've done you've used up all your great ideas and you got to keep putting them out every quarter. And I think a lot of people can't do that. So
the narrative must go on.
Yeah, it's not just the narrative that must go on. It is, you have to be willing to learn all aspects of the skateboarding business, including stuff that you never dealt with or hated dealing with. Like, some people can't stand operational or logistics work. Well, guess what? Don't start a skate company if you hate paperwork. If you don't like tracking packages.
Get yourself an industry dark man to run the operation behind the scenes, and you just are the figurehead. I think that's probably where it works out best.
But then
the pro skater can maybe be like more a creative director or something, and then there's somebody minding the books back in the office while the guy's out there in the streets.
But that's still work, though. Being a creative director is, I think the idea of being a creative director has certainly been cheapened by some non-skateboarding brands who shall remain nameless. You can't just bring in X person or Y person, maybe a celebrity, maybe somebody who's singing all over the record, all up in the video, dancing. You get what I mean? Being a creative director is not just vibes management. It is actively researching and shaping the creative vision of whatever thing that it is that you're putting out. You can't just be handed that title and just get to post up. Like, you got to be coming through with Pinterest. You got to have whiteboarding sessions. You got to have brainstorming sessions. And you got to find ways to take the craziness that's happening in your head and turning it into something that kids, all the way to old heads like us, are going to go to the skate shop and be like, that's what I'm fucking with. Like,
that's the ACD's role. That's the ACD, the assistant creative director, associate creative director. They're doing all the work, and the creative director is just kind of like, yeah, no, more of this, less of that.
Yeah, but with regards to like the logistics and planning, like, again, like, we are, the company. This is now we're coming up on the 10th anniversary of Brexit. Last year's, madness with trade and tariffs. Dog, it's a shitty time to be moving product of any type, selling physical goods in 2026. Mike.
I mean, you just blew my mind bringing up Brexit. when we're talking about thank you skateboards and and Tori Pudwell.
That's one for the bingo card.
Yeah, Tori Pudwell skating China, striped beanies, skating to Lil Wayne. Is he the most 2007 dude ever? Brexit isn't even in his like future yet. He's still got like well, I guess he's got like the financial crisis, but then like some good years after that. Like
Yeah, somebody
he
pointed out he's also wearing Lakai's, which
in that first clip for sure. Yeah,
he's been on the P448, I think is the shoe brand, for at least 2 years. So there's some
is that a
real
Chinese
ancient.
brand?
It's a brand. I don't know, but he's on. So a lot of this footage I think is pretty old.
The Lakai, that's like a Jesus. I even know it's a Telford Lakai that he was skating in that first clip. Nollie flip, backtail, million miles per hour, accelerating through the slide, backside flip out. Yeah, his kind of like I'm not gonna skate corporate shoes or I can't get corporate shoes for free thing is something that's notable.
Is there some backstory to this that I'm missing? Is he quite strict about it, or is it just nobody's sending him shoes?
No idea, and so probably the latter when we're talking about it. But I think Red Bull must take good care of him.
I think so, and I mean he's got his fans. I went back and watched the Big Bang from 14 years ago. It's got 6 million views, which I don't think a lot of videos on Thrasher are reaching those kind of numbers. So he's got some juice for sure.
That part's pretty insane and is indicative of the time period in which it came out. Like that "How You Like Me Now" song is in there, and that's like the song Mike Mo skated to in Fully Flared, where it's like, oh, this is like straight up pop music. This shit could be used in a bunch of NBA ads or whatever. And like
Right.
it was actually jarring. I'm not gonna do the song again. I apologize to all listeners for me singing it. My dog's trying to sleep over and he's like, what the fuck are you doing, Mike? He doesn't even know my real name and he still called me that. Yeah, that Big Bang part is insane. And Zach Harris on Twitter argued that like that was as influential a part as the Pretty Boy. Who's Pretty Boy?
Dylan Gravitz.
Dylan. It was so close.
Wait,
so
you're
close.
gonna forget Dylan? We're coming up on 10 years without him.
Momentarily, dude. There's a lot of talking involved, and I don't have it in my notes. And
he's handsome forever. R.I.P.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have the point of view or necessarily like talking to people perspective to say whether or not it was as influential as that Dylan part. I still think his Cherry part was way better than that one. But
Tori Pudwell,
I also hold on, Patrick. I got a big claim, and I've probably put it out there before. I skated a Dam Am final in 2006 with Dylan Reeder. When he had a buzzed head and wore a bandana, so like we're peers. So it's hard for me to judge his career and such.
Yeah, that can be tough.
Yeah, it's like I'm too close to the subject and shit.
Yeah. Well, Tori's not the only person to bounce back onto a previous sponsor. Austin Gillette famously left Habitat for Weekend, spent 2 years there, then came back, and then left again. Sully recently back on Weekend after
Cardenas.
Yes. Mike V back on Powell. Nija came back to Element. As I mentioned before, Arto back on Flip. It's not an isolated thing, and it shows that these guys maybe couldn't find a better home out there.
Is it a grass is greener type situation, or I think that's basically it, right?
I mean, I always read it as like these guys, maybe not as much Sully, but like Austin, Nija, Arto, kind of like maybe the biggest person on the brand or close to it. And they're thinking, if I'm making this much money here at Flip, maybe if I go out there, I can make more money on another brand, or I can be more somewhere else. Like, Freddie Mercury thinking he can go out and do a solo project, but he's not really the same without the band. So I think that's just kind of what happens. They go out there in the world and they're like, oh man, like people aren't really fucking with me quite as hard as I thought they were. Like I needed the backing of the brand to like give my image the boost that it needs, or whatever. That's how I see it. Does that make sense?
You raise a very interesting point, and something I'm thinking about too is also a great comparison with Queen. Although what's quite sad is Queen has been, Freddie Mercury died in 1991 from complications from AIDS, and yet Queen, it was Queen with what's the homeboy from the band Free? Anyway, that guy, and then with this other dude who they've been touring with quite a few different singers over the last few years. So that always feels strange that happens. But with skateboarding, I mean, skateboarding is not that different from any job. I know people have left a job with much fanfare, talking about, I'm going to go in this place and bump up my salary. It's going to be wavy. They do it for 9 months, a year, something like that, and decide, you know what, this might not be for me. And that happens. Skateboarding in that aspect, skateboarding is no different. And I think especially as we get older, like I said, we're all looking for a little bit more stability. And if a good check is a good check, and you don't have to spend as much time grinding for it, because he was probably doing a lot for him and Day One were doing a lot for Thank You. It goes back to our earlier conversation about don't start a company if you hate hard work.
Well, and I'm thinking like, if you vibe with people and then you're kind of like, all right, well, however anything comes to an end, just knowing who you can work with, that goes a long way. And, I don't know who runs Plan B day to day. I don't think Danny Way, now retired, is like, overseeing the shit. There's probably someone, doing a pretty reliable job there. And Tori Pudwell's like, well, shit. All right, I want to keep doing this. And I think that we shouldn't forget that he put out a good part skating to Lil Wayne 2007. We're there. He's, switch flip, crooked grinding, long ass ledges, holding it, looking good. He's got a lot left in the tank.
Yeah. And to my earlier point about him being king of the Groms, whereas Dylan Reeder, RIP the style god, Team Handsome, Emeritus, Tori Pudwell was for the skate park kids. Tori Pudwell was for the skate rats. And like there's a lane for everybody in skating, and I think he has not drifted too far from it. And let's talk about China footage though.
Because can I talk on King of the Groms real quick?
King of the Groms, talk to me.
Very good, because the skate park here, Third Layer, did a contest called King of the Groms for 12 and unders, and I judged a bunch of those contests. I've mentioned on here before. Jamie Foy came through. He wanted to be a King of the Groms. I also did the Tori Pudwell New Jack interview for the Skateboard Mag 2009, and the kid was great. He was so nice, and he'd already like been a dude on shorties and was like kind of progressing into the dude who would put out that Big Bang part, hard flip over a table off flat. Like, he's a good dude. He was very good to work with. I'll roll it back and say that, God, when you work with a bunch of guys who just don't want to answer their phone, or I'm trying not to be hyperbolic. He was a good one.
I mean,
and that
it's
sticks
annoying
with you.
trying
that
to get a skater
to
call you back.
A lot of them want to like shoot all the photos and get it to the like 98th yard line. That's the wrong way to put it. 1 yard line, and then they're like, I'm done. Patrick, though.
No, just thinking about China footage, let's see. China was shut down from 2020, early 2020, like January, February of that year. The tipping point was when we heard that factories that normally close for Lunar New Year would not be reopening at normal schedule. That meant that there were going to be disruptions to the supply chains for apparel and footwear. That was like a big one. Anyway, China was closed until like early 2023. And it didn't start reopening its borders to tourists and visitors until that point. And I seem to remember like there were episodes way back when in mostly skateboarding lore where there was, this kind of frustration, like, God, like y'all really doing this China footage. And then for 3 years, which is a lifetime in skateboard videos. Like think about 3 years back in the day when we were kids. Think about the difference between 1993 and 1996.
Yeah, there's kids who started skating and quit skating in that time.
Yeah.
Never seen a China clip.
Yeah. Think about, there was that huge, I'm going to buy a skateboard. I'm going to get back into skating. 3 years is a lifetime, and 3 years is a lot of time for footage to come out, especially in the era of short attention span theater. So all of a sudden this, plus there was a feature in Thrasher with Tom Asta and another homie from Santa Cruz going to China. Like China is back, and those ledges look buttery.
I mean,
They
China's
do.
back. If you want to, have a thing like a weird, I don't know, probably steel painted sculpture that you want to back tail in a arcing fashion, like you're not finding that shit in the disintegrating United States or in the degenerate Europe.
Yeah, I mean that's the last bastion of insane terrain is out in China, I think.
Wow, dude, we really hit some shit right there.
I mean,
Fucking still
there's
watching and shit.
there's insane terrain everywhere. Don't sleep on your own neighborhood. There's spots to be had.
Yeah. Yeah, there was also some like what I call this in my notes here? Anonymous American crust. You're not sure where it is. Is this suburban Dallas? Is this somewhere in the Midwest? Is this a suburb somewhere in the Northeast of California? You can't really quite tell what it is.
I doubt he's ever been further east than Las Vegas.
Yo, like, thinking about that, I think about how sad it is that there's some pros who I've never seen New York footage of, or they've never been to New York. Just like, nah, I've never been. It's like, dog, you've been around the world. How many times you've never gotten some footage in New York?
I'll bet there's a Tory Pudwell New York City clip.
There better be.
He's been around for a long time. Listeners, hit me with a link to that Tory Pudwell.
I
New
know
York footage.
someone's yelling. Someone's yelling at their headphones, which would be funny.
If we're talking about people who went back and forth between sponsors, I think one of the more clever ones and probably one of the most lucrative, Steve Berra and Heath Kirchart, who always traveled together. First they're on Birdhouse, then they went to Foundation. They were in two of the best Foundation videos of that era. Was it Rolling Thunder and was it Tentacles of Destruction? Great soundtracks, great skating, very mumblecore. And then back to Birdhouse for when Birdhouse was in their Imperial phase. They were in the end. Anyway, and then they went to Workshop after that, which I guess made sense. But they were both they both more or less retired after that. So, but to write like the decisions those two made in terms of leaving, returning, and then leaving again, I think they made the right decisions.
All right, let's finish this off. Let's hear who you would like to see bounce back to an old sponsor, someone who left and maybe should have stayed. I'll go first. Costin, back to girl. Never.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were done.
Yeah, I'm done now.
Well, you were saying though, never should have left. And what were you saying?
Never should have left for numbers. Shouldn't be on Edgelord. Like he's just like Costin and girl is like those two just go together. And
so
I think that they need each other. But why did you boo me, Mike?
I booed you because I think Costin has sullied his reputation to the point that like there's no coming back.
He might drag girl down at this point.
I'm gonna say it's connected to that. Mariano can go back to girl, and that would be dope. Like 2 years of Mariano, put out boards, that would be beautiful.
It makes a lot of sense. Patrick, you got one?
It's quite funny because mine is also attached to Crail Tap. Now bless him because DGK is doing well and it's a home for the homeboy Josh Kalis. But Stevie Williams going back to chocolate would complete the rebuild.
That'd be crazy work.
That would be really dope. Like I'm just like DGK is its own thing. I now skate for chocolate and I'm gonna put out a video part that's like really good and I'm not gonna wear those terrible pants anymore.
Yes,
but I'm gonna dress well.
Yo, Stevie on chocolate was such a coup, and he left at the perfect time. He left while his valuation was quite high, and he went into DGK. He did. But I think, like I said, sometimes you need a vet to complete the rebuild. And in other cases, like with girl, you need new talent, maybe retire the vets. I think in this case, somebody like Stevie, like that would complete it. Because like chocolate, I think is 95% loaded. Like, their rebuild has been fascinating to watch because like they're wavy again. Because they weren't for a minute, and now they're wavy again. Put Stevie on there, dog.
Let's see it. Make it happen, guys.
Stevie skated to a Big L instrumental. Summer 2026. Come on, man. People would throw their phones in the air and just scream.
I actually have to disagree because there have been so many instrumentals used in Girl and Chocolate videos where the normal track is superior to the instrumental that I object, Judge.
Dang.
All right, we'll work on the music supervision. We'll work on it once we get Stevie back at the Crail camp. Moving on, our friends at Skate Video Site just launched an app. Yes, an app. It works like the website, but it's easily accessible on your phone. And now it includes a Shazam function, so you can figure out who skated to that song you're hearing right now.
It's
Skate
gonna
video
make your
site.
wife care. It's gonna make your wife care
See,
who
look.
skated to that song.
Yes. Skate video site like Chromeball Incident, Skatefolio, and others are vital reference tools for us. They're also archiving our history. Patrick, why is this work so important?
Well, archiving matters because skateboarding is American cultural patrimony. We're coming up on the 250th anniversary of this place that we all live in here on the Mostly Skateboarding podcast. But yeah, it's part of the fabric of American history. It's one of the dope things this country's created, along with the electric guitar, blue jeans, rap music, and basketball, right? But also, wait,
It was a
am I missing
Canadian.
something?
Maybe it was a Canadian who invented basketball, but in America.
We're claiming that shit. Come on, man.
All right, sorry, man. I'm being a nerd. I'm like well, actually,
but
Fucking journalists.
in all seriousness,
nah, man. I'm trying to head off the internet. Those dudes are dicks.
Oh yeah, actually, yeah. Like, what is this gonna get pulled up on PTI? Stephen A. Smith is gonna be screaming.
Actually, I just want to nuke the slap board.
Well, we'll talk about that.
Where's the server, dude? Where's the server? Where's the server? I got an easy solution to all our problems.
No, let us find out at some point. There'll be some huge purge of federal files, and they're like, actually, Slap was being run by the NSA.
All right. Since you guys brought up the Slap message boards, I'm gonna be here to defend the Slap message boards. I think that they're actually extremely important as a snapshot of what was happening in skateboarding at that time. I was trying to track Austin Gillette's sponsor hopping, and the best the best resource for dates was the Slap message board, because there's a post: Austin off Habitat, Austin on weekend, Austin back on Habitat. Like it's easily searchable. It's got basically every piece of skate news from today to its inception, and it's got all the takes, all the rumors. I think the Slap message board is maybe the most complete history of skateboarding that we have right now. So
it's a mess, and it's not collated. And something I think about is that what social media, in the form of Facebook groups, blogs, as well as Instagram, has shown us how much work this actually is. Like, I got to give a shout out to the Secret Tape. Shout out to Brendan from the Secret Tape, who is doing the Lord's work by not just having doubles, triplicates, multiples of a lot of videos, having videos that people forgot, almost instantly upon release. Like, that's really important because, sometimes you'll talk to people from certain companies or, sponsored or formerly sponsored skaters. Like, oh, I don't even remember this video, this tour video, or this promo video, this trade show loop. And the work that organizations like Skate Video Site, Chromeball Incident, Bob Shirt, like that's archiving our history. That's archiving skateboard's history. And shout out to Betsy Gordon, frequent visitor on this pod, member of the CSEF board, and a champion of archiving, who put it very eloquently in a speech at Slow Impact this year. Archives, bitch. You got to archive. This stuff needs to be documented, collated, and taken care of. Because if you don't, guess what ends up happening? Someone else gets to write your history.
So on that note, to go back to just the slap board, which I've expressed my opinions about, like, as something that someone high speed is paying for, yeah, it's an incredible archive. And how searchable was it for you, knowing, just knowing that Austin is with a Y? Like,
oh, I mean, Austin with a Y
works,
makes
right?
it very searchable.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of whatever the I don't know, I don't have to talk more shit on the slap board. I think that's an insanely valid point, Templeton. Just that there are people out there, and I underscore the people factor of it. Like, people need to be keeping track of this shit and posting about it, and or engaging and building this thing. Skate Video Site, in my experience, where I wrote a story for Quarter Snacks about just like the lengths of skateboard videos. I linked to it in the show notes, so you can link to it in the show notes. Like, those, I contacted those guys, and I wish I could remember who was who, but they were so helpful. And it's like, it is kind of a grassroots, like, Wikipedian type thing where people are just making Skate Video Site happen. And it's so cool that they did an app. and it's really fun. But these guys were like really into, oh yeah, we'll crunch some numbers for you. We'll figure out, what is the longest skate video ever in our archives. Again, it's the idealized internet Wikipedia-esque, whatever the actual like proper word should be. I don't know. It talks to me like the old skateboard internet that, blogging, and I think all of us on this podcast were into. It's like, oh yeah, we're just on the internet and we're making shit happen. And it's adjacent to institutions like the Slapboard, but I don't know. I love skate video site.
I
Keep it
think
going.
something that would be really fun to do at a slow impact would be this. And I can't take credit for this because I didn't come up with the idea of a hackathon, but it actually came from a friend of mine in DC who decided to get a bunch of homegirls together and do a hackathon for women in STEM. And the prompt was, there's no reason why, women who have worked on everything from getting us to the moon to helping create the foundation of what is now modern Wi-Fi have such slim Wikipedia entries, and yet you've got volumes on adult film stars. Not a knock on being an adult film star, but that's quite the imbalance, in terms of representation on what is supposed to be a community encyclopedia, which is Wikipedia. So he said, like, yo, get all your books, get all your primary sources, and we're going to go and we're going to focus. We're going to run a hackathon on this. Why not do a hackathon for dates and shit around skateboarding? You get a prompt, you say like, hey, people with videos, things like that. You could also do it virtually because, by getting people together and forcing them to look at the primary sources, the actual videos, the magazines. That's why, for example, Look Back Library is so important because, the scuttlebutt, the rumor pages in all these old skate magazines can help you to try to establish a timeline for when things were happening within the industry. Now, the 1990s was a notoriously contradictory time. You had instances in which you could have someone like Javante Turner have 2 ads with 2 different companies selling the same product in the same magazine, right? And that was quite normal. You'd say like, oh, such and such is writing for Foundation. And then it turns out, actually, nah, they're actually going to be staying on World. Maybe I'm thinking about Richard Mulder, who I think was on Foundation. Anyway, besides the point, I think a hackathon. Get a bunch of people like with the actual primary sources. It's like, y'all gonna focus on team rider changes. Yo, you're gonna, collate all the names of photographers. Get people together to work through and have a tangible influence in a tangible experience with archival work. So you can just see that it's like not just a bunch of weirdos out there, but anybody can do it. Guerrilla archiving and shit.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, that seems like something that like, Look Back Library could put on some event. They rent out a room at the local library. They bring a bunch of mags and, get some scanners and say, all right, kids, get to it. Write down every photographer and every skater in this magazine, every byline, throw it in this spreadsheet or whatever. I don't know. They can work out the details.
I mean, this is like, I'm highly suspicious of quote unquote artificial intelligence, but, might be useful in actually creating an archive of what, the magazines. Shit. Sorry. We have all these magazines and none of it has been digitized, basically. And none of it has ever just been like, all right, we're going to act like we're the New Yorker or even like the internet allergic Harper's Magazine, where they hate the internet, but you can still get a Harper's Magazine archive on the internet because it's just what magazines do. So it'd be rad if Thrasher did that. I'm so sad. Templeton and I both worked for the Skateboard Mag. None of that's on the internet. Some of it was hosted by the Barracks, and I don't even know what is what, but that was still just like pages of the magazine, maybe a pretty janky, like readable HTML version of an interview. Yeah, skateboarding could really do better about it, but there's, part of it is kind of the mystique of it all. Not that it's good, but
yeah, but mystique can lead to disinformation. So sometimes you'll see, especially Google, for example, now, the first thing that you see will be an AI-generated result by Gemini of whatever information. And I remember looking up something around Bernard Butler, former guitarist of Suede, and whether or not he used a Fender Music Master guitar. And I remember once seeing Gemini response says, actually, yes, he did. It's like, you never used one in Suede. And it's one of those, it's well documented. There's tons of photos. So that's what we're up against. Like, this stuff is routinely wrong.
Dude, yeah, I mean, having whatever the most recent skateboard article I'd worked on, Google AI is pretty fucking worthless because so much of that stuff isn't on the internet for them to steal from. Granted, it's
Right.
basically just an advanced search engine, but like it's not there, so they can't steal it.
Right. And it's kind of like a garbage in, garbage out situation. It's scraping the
Yeah.
entire internet with all the, misspellings, misrememberings, straight up wrong information. But if you had a system where it's like, okay, here's the Thrasher archive, we're gonna call this, a good primary source, and you can, hey AI, read this and give me answers only based on what you know from reading the Thrasher archive, then you could probably feel pretty confident in the answers you were getting.
Did we talk about the Shazam ability of like, hey, do you know who skated this part of
We
that?
did
Of
not,
No.
but
yeah,
very cool
that's
feature.
amazing. I mean, that's gonna impress wives and partners across the nation.
How so?
Oh yeah, well, I'm the jerk who's like, we're in a nice restaurant and like some I don't know, gosh, who's that band from the Habitat videos?
Dinosaur Jr.?
No,
Not
Band of
Dinosaur
Horses.
Jr. Band
Cash
of
McComb?
maybe a
Band of
band,
Horses?
any of them. Gosh, I'm thinking of someone else. I'm doing a terrible podcast job, but it's like you know. You're out to a nice dinner with your wife, and you're like, "Hey, who's scared of this?" And she doesn't know. Why would she know? She doesn't know.
What are you
But
talking about?
I,
Kate knows these things?
good for Kate. Like I'm being terrible as a podcaster. It's just fun to, have. I don't know the Shazam. To explain it, Skate Video Site app. You can use a Shazam tool within the app that will then tell you who in however many videos it actually occurred skated to what. It's just fan. It's a parlor trick. It's like what people in the 18th century dreamed of when it came to harpsichord music or some shit.
Could you?
For
What do
sure.
you think? What music could you play for them from 2026 would be the most jarring to someone from 1886?
Probably like dubstep or something.
Mumble rap. They'd think
Yeah.
it sucks too. This shit is so whack, dude. I'm 44. And those people, oh, dude, it's so bad. They're like, why don't they say words? And why do these beats sucks? And why does he look like a fucking moron? God, I'm just into my grievances.
This is summer 2026, summer of hate. But to your point, though, that is the integration
Yo,
of.
I'm going to the beach. I'm going to the beach with my homies from the 17th century, and we're gonna listen to what? Not mumble rap. Fuck that
Okay,
shit.
we're going way even further back. I'm sure everything would terrify them.
No, they'd be like, "Damn, dudes, we only hear organs when like the Ottomans are coming to fucking wreck our shit." And yeah, okay, nah, man, this is worse. This is worse than the Ottoman organs and their trumpets. Like, we hate this more.
What if we play? What if we played them? What if we played them one of the greatest songs ever used in a skateboard video? Of course, I'm talking about Iron Maiden, 2026 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees, Iron Maiden, and their most epic, most glorious, "Hallowed Be Thy Name."
They'd probably be really fucking scared because that's a scary fucking song.
It would sound like church music as much as war
Yeah.
music. I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
they'd be. I mean, it's a good trope on uh, the internet and Twitter. Yeah, I don't know, man. Guitars. I wonder what guitars would feel like. They'd hate mumble rap though. They'd be like, "This shit's whack."
Okay. All
But
right. I
you
think
know,
we've
in
established
whatever
that.
like,
You
no,
just
dude. I'm sorry. I'm not. This isn't even my opinion. This isn't even my opinion. It's just a fact that
scientific fact.
people.
Hieroglyphic theory is validated by facts.
Yeah, and I mean they found that shit in the pyramids deep.
See, Mike's third eye is wide open right now. Y'all can't see it because they're on the radio. And with regards to like that band from the Habitat or Alien videos, there is somebody who right now is wearing brown corduroy pants and a white tucked-in shirt and is absolutely furious that you can't remember the name of this band that changed their life.
Dude, it's the credit song from one of those videos. It's Habitat. I don't know.
Beirut?
We've talked. No, it's. They basically do. I've got my phone now. They basically do kind of like instrumental stuff.
Explosions in the sky?
I mean, there's an easy solution to this. Get out
Maybe
your
we
phone,
just.
go to the skate video site app,
I mean,
type in
it's so
habitat.
obvious. All right, I'm gonna do it right now, guys. This is service journalism on the
Live.
radio.
We'll do it live.
All right. While Mike does that, I want to bring up one kind of stumbling block that I think has plagued skateboard media or videos specifically for basically since forever. And that's media rights ownership. All this music, Plan B videos have an iconic soundtrack. There's Led Zeppelin, there's The Offspring, Hieroglyphics. All those things are owned by different companies or entities. So having a copy of that online gets pretty confusing. Fortunately, like the physical tapes exist and can be archived and can't be taken back the way that internet videos have been. And we've definitely lost videos to music rights. And that's, I think, a big problem that I don't really know what the solution would be for it. Unless there's somebody out there like Internet Archive style needs to just rip every video and keep it on a drive.
Seriously, like a separate server somewhere out in suburban Maryland between DC and Baltimore. But there's a lot of music that is now coming into rights-free territory. Maybe someone needs to do kind of like what Rocco did with Love Child and just have one with just all old-timey 50s music. Can you imagine that?
I mean,
like some off-brand Chuck Berry cover.
Like, there's that, or like there's using royalty-free music, or having like one person make all the music for the whole video. All just kind of sucks. Like,
I think
you need good, real contemporary music.
Call your friends. I know so many good musicians who are making great music. Hit them up. Hit me up to put me in, so I can put you in touch. Stop throwing videos are trash.
I mean, I don't want to. It is a rebuttal, Patrick, and I don't necessarily want to crucify, mid first quarter of the 21st century soul tech, but they used so much bullshit music in their videos that was like just like guitar. Like those America videos that use the free music or the homies music or whatever. It's so forgettable, and like Brandon Westgate got just fucking robbed of iconic video parts because it was the most bullshit music.
Guitar.
What guitar? Say someone else say the word guitar. Like that's all. Yeah, God. Everybody listening is like, this bit sucks, and that's what we felt about that music when it was happening. Whatever the situation is, the detente with music licensing and YouTube being just like, all right, someone's gonna pay, you're gonna pay a little, and most of it's gonna work. Yeah, it's a new day.
Yeah, but as an artist who's getting money from TuneCore, from music that it lives across streaming platforms, like Google's notorious because YouTube barely pays. They never pay.
I don't know.
Same with VHS tapes.
I mean, everybody's getting fucked at all times. It's 2026, and we're all just stepped on. It's not quite the boot on the neck. It's not 1984. It's 2026. But the boot is somewhere nearby, always squishing you.
Yeah. Okay. Let's bring this back, Mike. You fired up the app. What did the skate video site app tell you? Did you find the song you're looking for?
I never got to the bottom of it, and I still can't remember the melody of the song, but it's one of those alien cuts that's very Alien Workshop and or Habitat. It's in that universe, or oh gosh, I'm so vague.
Listeners, you've got a lot of reasons to write in this week, so please do help Mike out. Help us all out.
If you want to write in and defend mumble rap, though, save your paper and your postage.
Save it. I think I'd be stoked to hear from our listeners this week. And that brings us to the part of our show where we talk about what we're stoked on. Mike, besides mumblecore rap, what are you stoked on this week?
Gosh, that's a good question. Hold on, I got to scroll down. So I am stoked on the Minnesota Timberwolves, who cameoed on our episode last week as I was like watching the game as we podcast, which happens frequently. But the Minnesota Timberwolves made the second round of the NBA playoffs. Super stoked on that. They dropped a big game last night all games in the playoffs are bigs, but hopefully by the time this comes out on Sunday, they're doing better. I love the Timberwolves. Ride or die. I'm also stoked on it's the Matthew Lucas D'Souza part from Passport. Came across as a Thunder Trucks sponsored or promoted thing on Instagram. That dude is good. Australian by all I could tell. I watched the video part. I did no further internet research. He does a nollie heel flip over a street gap. Very good. And he does a backside 180 fakie 5-0 down like a sizable hubba, which was very sick. Good squatty ride out. And as an addendum to what I'm stoked on, I'm gonna talk briefly about what I'm not stoked on, which is calling the aforementioned trick a backside 180 fakie 5-0. Yeah, we're not calling it a Pupecki grind. That's fake.
Wow.
That never happened. Nobody called it that when Eric Pupecki was an actual like pro skater who was pro skating.
That is
Talking
true.
about one of the waviest dudes in the 90s? I hope this isn't
Dude.
slander.
No. He was great, but I think it's I suspect, I have no real foundation for this, but I suspect that it came off of a previous mentioned media entity that I sure don't fucks with. But all love to, our homie and sometime podcaster. He hasn't been on for a while, but Max Harrison Caldwell, he referenced Pupecki grind at some point, maybe at Slow Impact, and we were talking, whatever. He brought up Pupecki grind. I'm like, nah, man, that's not a real fucking thing. That's like a, reverse engineered thing that was never a thing. Gosh, say thing more. But then maybe Max was fucking with me, but he was like, was that guy's first name like Eric? And then I needed to slap him up because he didn't even know who Pupecki really was. I think it's not a real thing. Just
Trilogy
don't back
came
it.
out 30 years ago.
He was, yeah, dude, and he had one at USC.
I mean, true, but you have a good point. But you know what? Shout out to Eric Pupecki. He's the man. But I understand. I feel where you're coming from. I feel where you're coming from.
So the whole reason I'm talking about it was I looked up the YouTube entry of Matthew Lucas D'Souza. Fantastic name. Big guy. He's a good skater. I hope to see more from him. And yeah, one of the first comments was like, that Pupecki was heat or some shit like that. I'm like, not having it.
You should go fight with that commenter.
Yeah. I'm gonna find him and I'm gonna tell him I called you out on my podcast. Now we got to throw down.
Yeah, give him a link to the show.
Go ahead.
It's gotta be a dance off.
Oh shit.
Yeah, we're taking it back to the 70s. No more violence. We're settling beef on the dance floor.
You know what I found out was that Saturday Night Fever was based on a New Yorker article, but the New Yorker article was fabricated through and through.
We're not going to disrespect John Travolta at his then peak.
Okay, moving on. Whoever you were on YouTube, I didn't get your username, so you're gonna have to find me.
Mike is calling you out. Whoever you are out there on the internet, he's just like, come through. I'm standing on business.
No, I just don't like the Pupecki grind. It's not Bernstein Bears stuff, but it's some other phenomenon where it's you know what it is? It's indie sleaze.
Yeah, it's whatchamacallit? It's an unnecessary neologism. That's what it is.
We don't really have a name for categorizing something in the past with something that makes better sense in the present.
Yeah, but indie sucks. Sorry.
Yeah, indie, it was just hipsterism. Like, come on.
Right.
And it's just a backside 180 fakie 5-0. Elite trick. Patrick, what are you stoked on this week?
Well, while I'm always stoked on Spitfire wheels, I am beyond stoked because number one, the Knicks have been doing some things. They've been winning big in the NBA playoffs. They sent Atlanta packing. They're up 2-0 over Philadelphia. I'm feeling things I haven't felt in decades with the Knicks. This is beyond Linsanity. This is something different. And talking about teams that have let me down time and time and time again, who are currently lifting me up and nourishing my soul, Arsenal Football Club of North London are not only hanging on to the top of the Premiership, they are returning to the Champions League final for the first time in 20 years. I was outside in 2006. I'm a chill dude now, but I might have to while out one time if Arsenal and or the Knicks can take us fans back to the promised land. And I'm also stoked on curb skating. Templeton, what are you stoked on this week?
I am stoked on a little welcome video for Japanese skater. Sorry about to butcher your name. Rukia Shimasaki. Welcome to Gravis part. A lot of cool spots, good tricks, an ill hard flip, and a Jamie Thomas-esque back lip to end it off. Linked in the show notes, obviously. It's a really good one, and I feel like a lot of people haven't seen it on the Slap message board even. So go watch this part. It's good. And that's it for our show this week. Be sure to check out mostlyskateboarding.net for links to things that we talked about and other show notes. Until next time, you can keep up with us all week online. Patrick, where can the people find you?
Man, y'all can find me on Instagram under the handle @pkigongo. Mike, where can the people find you on the internet?
Man, on the internet, I love tweeting. I am at @mmunzenrider, and I'm also posting story clips and like stuff from my neighborhood on Instagram at @mmunzenrider. Templeton, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Mostly Skateboarding, and you can find the show on YouTube at Mostly Skateboarding. See you guys next week.
Later.